All right. Greetings. Thank you for joining us and welcome back to this latest edition of New Day Resurrection and Liberation. I will be your co-host and moderator for this evening. I'm Brother Lumumba Uncaged, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Um, okay, looks like we do have Sister Empress that's joining us currently. Let me bring her on to the stage.
Yes. Greetings, Brother Lumumba. All right. Welcome, family, to this edition of New Day Resurrection and Liberation. We got another hot one for you tonight. So let's get ready to get with it. Of course, we're going to be talking with again our sister Elaine Riddick.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. Sister Empress, you just went on mute. I'm not sure if you intended to do that. So you will have to unmute yourself. Okay. Can you hear me? Check. 1 2 1 2. All right, family. I'm not sure if Sister Empress can hear me. If her audio is connecting, she may have to leave back out and come back in. In the meantime, in between time, family, thank you for joining us once again for this episode of New Day Resurrection and Liberation. And again, I'm your co-host and moderator for this evening, Brother Lumumba Uncaged. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for joining.
All right. I think I got my volume back. Can
Okay,
you
all
hear
right.
me? Okay, great. All right, great. Okay, so I was saying that we are going to be talking again with Sister Elaine Riddick. Of course, she was with us last week, and we talked with her about, of course, the horrific experience, and that puts it mildly, of being a young teenager and being forced to be sterilized. So of course, we had that conversation last week. And of course, we also talked about, how that happened, why it happened, and so forth and so on. But tonight we're going to kind of review that, but we're going to also talk about some of the work that she's been doing over the years. And one of them is a more recent kind of inquiry and observation, and that is with the birth control known as Depo-Provera. And so there's a lot of information that a lot of our women in particular don't know. And so we're going to make sure that we provide them with that information, because now, as it turns out, the federal entities, I guess the Drug Administration and others, have now allowed for there to be warnings for the use of Depo-Provera. So we're going to share some of that with you a little later on tonight. She'll be joining us. But first up is going to be one of our elders, one of my direct Babas, and we're talking about Bambozi Shango, who of course is one of the representatives from the AAPR-PGC. And of course he's involved in several other organizations on an international level. He does a lot of work, of course, with Venezuela, Chile, and of course with Cuba. And so we have asked him to join us tonight to really give us a little more insight into what's really going on in Cuba. Of course, there's a lot of reports that we're hearing, but you definitely like who I think is the MC Hammer used to say, "Don't trust that." You can't trust that. Well, it's best to get it a little more from some sources that we are familiar with. So he's going to share with us some of the information that that he's been made privy to, and I can assure you it comes a little more directly from the actual people. So with that said, we'll be talking with him very shortly. Unfortunately, we will not be having with us this week Dr. James Garrett. We were supposed to do part 2 with him. Something came up with his family, but he will be joining us on April. We've rescheduled him for April the 11th. So the second new day for the month of April. He will be joining us, and it will be very interesting because he indicated he wants to talk about a sister that we've talked about on numerous occasions with our education, information kinds of things when it came to gentrification and just the whole issue of homelessness and displacement. And we're talking about a sister by the name of Yolanda Ward, who he knew very well, and of course was very affected by her unaliving. She was 22 years of age. She was a well-known activist in DC area in particular, but she did a lot of traveling because during that time period, our people did a lot of traveling when it came to activism. So she was known in the area of dealing with housing again and discrimination and redlining and that whole thing. And she wrote something very, very interesting. And we'll go into that when we talk more with Dr. Garrett. But she was mysteriously, or I won't say mysteriously, she was unalived again at the age of 22. They claimed it was a robbery, but yet she was, a weapon was held to her head and she was shot in the head. There were a few other people standing there, but she was the only one that was unalive. And when you hear what kind of work she was doing, the reports she was revealing from her research and so forth, it kind of makes you want to think about some things that we often talk about. One of our brothers say it's not a conspiracy until it's proven as such. But anyway, it was definitely suspect. So we'll talk more about that with Dr. Garrick. And again, bring forward some of our concerns as pertains to gentrification. And what the We Charge Genocide 21 campaign movement and the R4J project is doing in terms of recapturing our land and things that go with that as a part of repair. All right, so we're not looking to get involved in these different programs that they have available for urban development and that kind of stuff. That's not what we're going for. We want land and property based on repair. This is a very different kind of approach that we're taking, and we're going to be telling you more about that, particularly next month when we observe Paul Robeson's Born Day. And again, Dr. Garrett will be joining us a few days after Paul Robeson's Born Day, so it kind of ties in. So get ready for that. And he's going to also talk to us about, for those, we mentioned it briefly last week, the Bakke case. He was very, very much involved in the Bakke case when it was literally in court. So he's going to tell us about that and how that is applicable to today. And we're going to talk again about what we're putting forward to make sure that our Black students and young adults are a little more proactive in the context of tradition. And that means, based on bringing forward some of what we saw in the 50s and 60s with SNCC, with the Black Panther Party, RAM, and other groups and organizations where young folks were really doing some very, very serious, powerful things. So we're putting some things together now for the next couple of years to make certain that we're able to train, for lack of a better word, and connect Black students and young adults nationwide for some very proactive kinds of initiatives. So we'll be talking again to Dr. James Garrett about that in a few weeks. But again, for tonight, to recap, we're going to be talking with, again, Sister Elaine Riddick on the issue of modern day eugenics, modern day genocide as pertains to our women and girls. And of course, we are still in what is known as Women's History Month. So, of course, we're focusing on that. And there's a sister that we're going to highlight tonight as a part of Women's History Month. And I'm just going to give you the name now, and then we'll tell you more about her later. Her name is Fannie Jackson Copen. Now, when people hear the name in that context, usually they have no idea who that is. But most who are kind of in academia or, in the educational circles, they'll know the name based on the university But interestingly enough, while people know the name of the university, they still don't know that much about her, period. Anyway, we're going to tell you about her a little later on. That's our feature for tonight. Annie Jackson Copen. Who was she? What did she do? Why is her work so important or significant, particularly as we talk about Black women's history? So that gives you a little bit of insight into what we're going to talk about tonight. Oh, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention our brothers. We really got to talk about that. Over the past couple of weeks, calls have went out, and this is not the first time, to encourage Black men to support our campaign that is now going national to bring greater awareness, attention, and action as it pertains to specifically missing, kidnapped, assaulted, violated, etc. Black women and girls, trafficked and Black women and girls. And so we sent that information out to several hundreds of Black men, in addition to, individually, but also to groups and organizations. And in 2 weeks, we had 5. So if people think we're playing with them and we just send them this information because we'll have nothing else to do, then they have another thing coming. So we're going to continue to send the information out, and now we're going to do it in such a way where some of it will be also sent by mail so that it can be registered, so that somebody has to sign for it. I mean, it's really unfortunate that we have to go to those lengths in order to make sure that people get involved. You see, but if that's what we have to do, then that's what we have to do. We're also preparing letters to go to so-called national leaders, representatives, Black men, to encourage them to speak out, since it doesn't appear that our brothers want to hear it come from a sister. Well, maybe it'll be different if they hear it come from a brother. Unfortunately, that is the way things are. In reality, we can talk all that stuff all we want to about, I love Black women. Well, let me tell you, we're going to prove that for some, they're talking out the side of their face. Because this is an issue that should not have to take all of this for people to at least get information and do something. And so we're going to make sure that it is made very clear who we're sending information to, who's responding, and who is not. Because the least a person can do is to share some information. So we're going to go into that a little later on. All right. Do we have Baba Bambozi with us yet, Brother Lumumba?
We do not.
Okay.
Yet. I'm going to see if he might be on the link for the YouTube. I know that can get confusing sometimes for some folks, so I'll check there to see if he's there. And we do have Miss CC Robinson on in the yard on the stream yard currently. So that's who we have currently.
Who is that again?
Miss CC Robinson. Let me bring her up real quick.
Okay.
All right, greetings. How you doing, sis?
Good evening, Sister Empress. This is Carlene Robinson. I met
Okay.
you through Ms. Kuzart.
Oh, yeah. You've been on a few of our calls. Greetings to you, sister. Good to have you with us.
Same here. How have you been?
Oh, well, did you hear what I just said about the efforts we put out to get our brothers to join us on a few of the calls to talk about the issue of violence and abuse, particularly missing and kidnapped? What are your thoughts about that, Sister Carlene?
I think you're doing a wonderful, great job, man. And I'm hoping to see a great outcome.
Well, so far it hasn't happened, and that's my concern. We've sent it out to several hundred of Black men.
Oh, wow.
And they are not responding. And so we have a backup plan, but we're going to make it very clear that, why is that happening? And again, to just get information, if nothing else, to at least be able to pass the information on. We have pictures of missing Black women and girls. We had, and not just Philadelphia, but from other cities too, but definitely Philadelphia. And
Yeah.
we also have other things that people can do now to help in getting the information circulated. And so that's the least someone can do, and that is to share a picture. And
Yeah.
so, we're saying if they're not even willing to do that, oh, then we need to be asking some serious questions.
Yeah. Some people they just don't want to get involved in certain things. That's what it just sounds
What?
like to me.
But
Yeah.
wait a minute. In certain things, no.
Yeah.
No,
And
see,
it's sad. And it's sad.
yeah, no. This is beyond certain things. This is missing, kidnapped, sexually violated. Everybody has a mother.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So there's some things that, no, there's some things we can't allow. And again, it's not that we're saying they have to get so involved. You can't send information, a document out to someone.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes 5 minutes.
You're
If
right.
that long, so no, this is not acceptable, and this has been for me, sister, and several others. This has been the problem. We have allowed this behavior to continue, meaning where there is little to no response, and we're allowing people to do that. And so now, that can't happen. Oh, by the way, did you get the flyer for we're going to be over at the church on Thursday?
No, I didn't. No, I
Oh,
didn't.
wow. Okay, got to
Look
make
at
sure
that.
you get that. And please feel free to circulate.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And while we have you, and
Mhm.
because we're waiting for our guest to come on, I'm getting ready to call them now to see what's up. Is there anything that you have that you'd like to share with us?
Not at the moment, ma'am. No, not at the moment.
Okay. So
Not
how are
at the
you
moment.
how are you making out with your, because I know you have a group or a project that you had started. How is that coming?
Everything is okay at the moment. We had a standstill. We really haven't been doing anything.
Okay.
Yes, we really haven't been doing anything at the moment. So we wait for the weather to break and just seeing what's next.
Okay,
That's all.
great. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for tuning in, and
Yes,
we'll come
ma'am. Thank
we'll
you for
come back.
having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come back to you in a few minutes, or a
Yes,
little later
ma'am.
on.
All right.
All right, Brother Mumbo, I'm going to reach out to Baba Bombosi and see what's going on, and also Sister Elaine. They both should be on by now. In the meantime, would you like to share your thoughts about brothers not responding to our calls?
Sure, sure. And I have also I got a brief clip I can play, concerning the issue and one of the primary violations against Sister Elaine. So this was, I believe, during the court hearing or shortly afterwards, concerning her being forcefully sterilized at the age of 13. All right, so I'll pull it up quickly in a second. But to address the response or lack thereof of Black men concerning this issue of ending violence and abuse of our women and girls, it has been very disheartening to say the least. I myself, as a Black man, I find it, totally unacceptable. It is egregious, the fact that it's already a history, over the past decades, if not hundreds of years, of men not being in proper positions and places, especially as it pertains to the household. Now, there is a historical attack that has been made against the black man in order to remove from that proper place and position as the pillar, provider, director, and protector of the family. All right, so it's not accidental nor coincidental, but at the same time, that is even more of a reason for black men to fight, to gain their ground and positioning back and show not only themselves, not only black women, but show the world that they have the capabilities in order to push through and persevere and come back on top. All right, and be able to reinstate and reinstall ourselves back into that proper place and position, right? Because it is imperative that we do so. All right, these types of examples must be shown, and if it isn't, then the ramifications of that is going to be insurmountable. It's going to be absolutely devastational to the narrative and the image of black men. So I'm not sure what that type of hiccup or holdup is, and I myself have found a lot of difficulty in galvanizing black men. Black women do not seem to have that same uh, or that same exact type of barrier as it pertains to galvanizing and coming together. Um, but as Sister Robinson mentioned, perhaps it's specifically on certain issues, which again is very disheartening and still is no excuse. All right, because as you were saying, it not only affects individuals, it affects the entire community, and it might be someone that you don't know one day. It might be someone that you heard of or know by association the next day, and then following, it could be hitting very well at the home front and the doorstep. Okay, once it affects you, your family, your mother, or daughter, or niece, or aunt. Okay, and then it will be too late. It will be too late. All right, and so the time to for us, for black men to stand up and step back into our proper places was yesterday, right? And the next best time for us to get back into our proper place and position and take on our rightful roles and responsibilities is right now. All right, so I implore all men of African descent, and I gotta go across the spectrum because people be acting funny style. Oh, I'm not black, and all this other nonsense that's going on currently through social media and so on and so forth. So let me just span across the board to hit everyone in all of their different categorizations. All right, so that's black, native, okay, freedmen, all right, African centered, more, all right, Christian, Islamic, Buddhist, okay, all across the board. However you identify within those categories and categorizations, this means you, okay? And so if we cannot come together, there's a lot of things that we can be focused on as far as our differences is concerned. But if we can't all agree that our women and girls need better protection, then I mean, you could be the liability and not the asset. All right, you could be the problem. All right. Okay. So with that being said, I believe we do have Sister Elaine coming on board, and so let me bring her forward. And
Okay, well, yeah, you can bring her in, but we need to just talk with Baba Bambozi. He's up first, And he's something, I don't know what's going on with these links, but he had a problem. So did Sister Elaine. She had a problem too.
Mm,
So, because I had to resend it to her, and I just resent it to Baba Bambozi.
okay, that's weird because it's the same link as far as streaming
Yeah, I
is.
know. I
Yeah.
know. But she called and said she had a problem, so I just
Mm,
resent it. But okay, so all right. Well, maybe we will go with her, and then when Baba comes in, we'll just break and come back to her. But I do want to just add this on to what you just said, Brother Lumumba. The mere fact that we have to, how do I put this? That we have to, really push for folks to get involved, right? I mean, what message does that send?
right.
That we have to go through all of this with people, that we have to even say this kind of stuff. I mean, what do folks have any idea what that looks like for real?
No, it's bad. It looks real bad. The optics are
Yeah.
not good at all.
Uh-oh, this is Baba calling again. Be right back.
All right. Yeah, yeah. No, the optics on this is terrible. It's terrible. That black men, indigenous men, native men, um, Moorish men, freed men, so on and so forth, have to be plead to in order to get involved with the serious epidemic that we're seeing, not only nationally, not only locally, but nationally and even internationally, as it pertains to our missing uh, women and girls, right, and the levels of exploitation, the levels of abuse that a lot of our women have been and are facing. Okay, and the fact that there is a lack of representation, as far as our men is concerned, and a lapse, in aspects of, uh, actually being present, within our families, within our communities, and so this is becoming more of the norm and the narrative, all right, that is being pushed and promoted, and instead of being able to counter it, it is being proven, all right. So it is up to us, family, to be able to control the narrative, control our own image, in order to make sure that we're putting it forth in a positive and progressive manner. All right. At the end of the day, it's not going to be on our women and girls. That's going to fall squarely on us, right, and the lack thereof. So if y'all, if folks want things to continue to decline and deteriorate as far as it pertains to our family units and the trust, right, in men, and our capabilities, the faith and belief, then keep right along on this trajectory. But if folks want things to improve and to regain balance, to regain respect, okay, we need to get back into taking our proper roles and responsibilities. All right, it has to be shown. Okay, it has to be seen and not just said, because all the lip service is well past due. All right, and folks really not trying to hear that stuff no more. I know I'm not. I need people to show and prove. All right. With that being said, looks like we do have Baba Bambozi that has come in. Okay,
All
so let me
right.
bring him to the stage. All right, excellent. And your
All
fast
right.
sister Lama
Sister
stage
Elaine,
as
you
well.
stay right there. We're running behind a little bit because Baba Bambozi had a problem getting in too. But I
Okay,
need to get him in first, and then we're going to come right back to you. Okay.
you take your time.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Mhm.
Great. Yeah, he had a problem also. The same thing that happened with Sister Elaine, something about a 404 message or something. I don't know what that was about. But anyway, we have him now. So, family, what we're going to do is we're going to hear from Baba Bambozi Shango. Again, for those that do not know, and you should by now, there's quite a bit going on throughout the world, not only with Iran, but needless to say, a few weeks ago, of course, we heard what was going on with Venezuela, and more recently now, it's Cuba. So I thought it was best that we hear from someone who is directly connected to both countries so that we can get a perspective based on the kinds of, mindsets and interactions that we're familiar with. And that, of course, is not the mainstream media. So, Baba Bambozi, you ready to join us?
I'm ready.
All
Good
right.
evening.
Yes. Greetings, Baba.
Greetings. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Greetings. Greetings. I think that this whole question of Cuba seems puzzling to a lot of people. And it's strange because Cuba's been under a economic warfare, an economic blockade since 1960, and that folks should know about that. This is what they think will be the accumulation of this blockade, resulting in what they initially said was the purpose of the blockade: to squeeze the Cuban people, to starve them so that they would rise up and overthrow their government. Of course, over 60 years, this has not happened. And today, the question of whether OFAC, the Office of Foreign Asset Control, can really regulate the world, especially trade in the world, between countries that are independent sovereign countries not part of the United States. There is at least 2 oil tankers heading towards Cuba from Russia. The U.S. has taken a position that Cuba is not allowed, and I don't know who allows this for any country, but Cuba is not allowed to take delivery of Russian crude. But also not just Russia, but there's ships heading to Cuba from Mexico, from China, from the European Union has something called Nuestra America, our America, which they're sending some fleets. And all of these ships are being sent with a clear understanding that they're ignoring this blockade that's been going on for over 60 years. They want to demolish this blockade. However, the problem that we face is neither Cuba nor America nor these countries that are actually sending oil and medical supplies and food, etc. But instead, the problem is really the countries that have historically claimed that they're friends of Cuba, who suddenly thinks that they can go it alone against the empire, that they can actually stay neutral, and that this is support for Cuba. But there's no neutrality in this. There's no neutrality, and these countries need to develop a backbone. I think we see these issues coming out in public where Cuba's health practitioners, doctors, and medical service workers are being put out of different islands in the Caribbean because Rubio, the Secretary of State who was in Florida, who claimed to be a Cuban American, although he recently went to the G9 and said that he was Spanish. And the reality is that his family did not leave Cuba after the revolution. They left long before the revolution, and that he has never set foot in Cuba. But anyway, with all these contradictions, it is strange to see places like Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, basically expelling Cuban doctors through this demand by Rubio that they expel them. And these are doctors who, first of all, they don't have doctors themselves. Secondly, the U.S. is not going to replace those doctors with doctors from the United States. As a matter of fact, they're talking about trying to bleed places like Ghana for the few doctors they have to send them to Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica, etc. So this is a lose-lose situation for these countries who, for over 50 years, have been so-called allies of Cuba. And there are others who I'm sure, because of fear, etc., will also join them. And it is this point that the progressive people of the world need to stand up and point out these countries and accuse them for what they are: traitors, backsliders, backstabbers, sellouts, you name it. We see that as necessary. We're not just talking here. We see that as definitely necessary because if you take Jamaica, for example, and the doctors, the Cuban doctors who were there, have helped hundreds of people through this hurricane. And now they're being asked to leave because Jamaica claimed they cannot negotiate a contract with Cuba that would be satisfactory to Jamaica, but in reality, is the U.S. telling them to get rid of the Cuban doctors and thus leaving them without doctors, period, because doctors from the Caribbean, once they get their doctoral license, etc., will tend to basically move to the United States because there's more money, etc. I mean, you know, the head of the Harlem Hospital for years was a brother from Jamaica. So that's the problem. And it's not just a problem with Cuba, but it's also a problem with Haiti. I'm sorry, it's a problem with Haiti. It's a problem with Puerto Rico. It's a problem of how these Caribbean countries see the necessary unity and whether they really think that they can stand individually against the empire. Because all will happen is they will fall individually. They have a better chance standing united. And I must say that also for many of the countries who claim to be progressive. Brazil, Colombia, just giving lip service to Venezuela at the key point when they needed more is not enough. And you must realize that Nicolas Maduro and his wife first combatant, Celia Flores, will be on trial in a New York courtroom this week coming.
Mm-hmm.
And that folks, if they're in the area, should go to the courtroom at, I know 8 o'clock in the morning is early, but 8 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's because of programs like yours that other views can be expressed, that other analysis, other positions can be opened to the public for more serious debate and action. Otherwise, if you just listen to regular corporate media, you know nothing. As a matter of fact, corporate media, they tell me, if you put it in your barn, will really make good livestock go rotten. So I thank you for allowing us to do this update. My brother, thank you also. Uh, and I don't know if you have any questions or any other thing that I could say.
Yes, Baba. Thank you as well. You always answer the call when we ask you to come and give us updates and clarity. So we really appreciate that. I do have one question, and I'm sure some of our other family might have one as well. But definitely, one of the things that, and when you said it, it was like, and that was, you mentioned a couple of times that some of the countries, some of the nations might feel that they can stand on their own. Well, when you said that, what also came to mind was it sounds also that there may be one or two or however many that really is not trying to be in opposition or deal with resistance, but in fact is now maybe joining more so in with the United States.
Yes, but that's a losing game
Mm-hmm.
because it just put them back into the same exploitative conditions that they were in before they moved to form organizations like CELAC and different united fronts of Caribbean countries who really benefited from this unity in the past, and to now come to try to destroy these organizations by saying you don't need them no more
Mm-hmm.
is saying that to the empire, here I am, come in and rule me, come in and exploit me, come in and rape me, come in and do whatever you want with me. And that must stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I just have one other question, and I'm going to yield the floor to the family if there's a question or comment from someone. My last question, or yeah, it's a question, but really it's for clarity. You mentioned, of course, that the former president and his wife will be of Venezuela will be going to trial to court next week. Just for points of clarity, what are they being charged with?
That's a good question. I think we're all trying to figure that out. The first thing they did was said that they went in to kidnap him because he was the head of a notorious drug gang.
Okay.
And then as soon as he was kidnapped and trafficked to New York, that line changed and that charge it has disappeared. There's
Oh.
no mention of notorious drug gang, etc. anywhere. But there's charges that's ridiculous, like uh, possession of a weapon.
What?
How can you tell the president of a country that he can't possess a weapon? Uh, they cannot come up and say that they think the election was rigged, but they can say that they think he oppressed Maria Machado, who, as you may remember, is the woman who got the Nobel Peace Prize for
Yes.
asking America to invade Venezuela,
Mm-hmm.
and then came as a lapdog to the White House to, on her knees, give Trump her Peace Prize, which he not only ignored and insulted her, but he regulated her to the dustbin, to nothing. Now she cannot even say anything in Venezuela. So, when you serve the master,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that he's gonna pat you on the head.
Yeah, and we've seen that with this particular wannabe king. We've seen that's a part of his makeup, part of his behavior. He'll do things with people, and then after he's used them, he discards them, he fires them, and all kinds of
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah,
Exactly.
so that's routine for him. Okay, I yield. Family, any questions or comments for Baba Bambozi?
Let me bring up. Let me see who we have in the studio. Let me bring up Sister Elaine, and let me bring up Sister Gwen. Thank you for joining us in this edition of New Day Resurrection Liberation. Any questions, Sister Elaine, based on the information that you've heard thus far?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but I'm only going to ask one, and then I'm going to send you my information. All of this stuff that's going on now is because of, I believe, the Rockefellers, what they have put in motion, the Rothschild, and I'm trying to figure out what do BlackRock have to do with all of this stuff? Are they trying to control the world? Is this part of their new world order?
Mm.
Well, you have several questions there. I think that the Rockefellers, uh, Exxon Mobil, uh, the oil giants, what they call the Seven Sisters, is
Mm.
all for what Trump is doing because it puts them in a position to now control the energy source of the world, which they think that once they control that, they can then control anything else. And if you look at what they're doing in Cuba, the fact that if Cuba is not given some oil, then they have to go back to burning charcoal. They have nothing to fire their electrical plants, etc. And luckily, the island has been solarizing itself for the past almost 20 years. But in that sense, they have prioritized schools and hospitals. So individual houses do not have solar yet. That's coming. And they now see even more than ever the necessity for that. That is part of the deals that they have cut with China. Uh, but definitely, imperialism thinks that it's their world and that they must control it. I think the people are saying that a different world is possible. Thank you, sister, for
Thank
your
you.
question.
Thank you.
Ashe. Okay. Anyone else?
I have
Sister
a question. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Hey, Sister Gwen. Mm-hmm.
Hi, good evening. Well, what does uh, the United States have to gain by invading Cuba? What resources, other than obviously the people, obviously it would be a resource, but they don't have oil,
Uh,
or do they? That we don't know about. I mean, I think I heard Haiti does, but I'm
Yeah,
not sure, but
Cuba has some metals. They have copper, I believe. Uh, they also have some bauxite, not much. And in all reality, Cuba has oil, but not enough to really serve the island. Uh,
mm,
but what the invasion of Cuba would do is prove that if you have as part of your system of people who gets free education, free healthcare, etc., and you can wipe that out, it means you can say we could wipe it out because it didn't work, which we all know is not true. But then Cuba becomes the model for U.S. imperialist invasion in other parts of the world. And they will definitely say, as you know from Trump, that not only did we wipe out Cuba, but we can do that to you. And
That's right.
for, if nothing else, that reason, we can't allow that to succeed. You know, there's a flotilla of boats, little ships, boats coming from the United States to Cuba, bringing medical supplies, bringing food, etc., right now. And I believe some of it should reach there this week coming. So all of their plans are not falling directly into place as they thought it would. And Cuba is not a place that I think is easily invaded. And the Bay of Pigs, if you remember, should show you that. But not only that, they have been resilient. When the Soviet Union fell and East Germany fell in 1990s, Cuba had went through what they call a special period, which is similar to what's happening to them today. They were no food, no oil. People had to ride bicycles. But because of their resilience, they discovered new ways of doing what they normally did anyway. So I have faith in Cuba.
All right, all right.
Right. Right. On that note, let me just ask, based on what Sister Gwen just asked, the other thing, Baba, and correct me if I'm wrong, that just like with Haiti, United States has a vendetta, has always
Yes,
had a vendetta.
yes.
Based on the fact of what Haiti did, and so I'm saying that, and Baba just mentioned Bay of Pigs. So there has been a hatred, for being able to fight back and win to some degree. And so the United States, and again, this is just my analysis, and Baba can correct me if I'm incorrect, but my analysis is that there is somewhat of a vendetta. But here's the other thing too, the land mass, meaning the position of where the land is. It's a strategic location. So to have that location, if the United States had that location, that would position them geographically in a way that would be to their, that they would want for that to be to their advantage from a military standpoint. Am I correct with that analysis, Baba?
That is true, but they also already has that capability because they have invaded and occupied the part of Cuba, the eastern part called Guantanamo, ever
Right.
since the early 1900s. And they mentioned that it was a lease signed between the then government of Cuba and the United States that allowed them to rent that portion of the island. Uh, Rent used to be like $100 a year, I believe, for decades, and that the only way that lease can be destroyed is if both the United States and Cuba agrees to it. Now, they send a check to Cuba every month, but Cuba has never cashed that check, and they don't think that they have rented the United States that piece of the island, but instead that they're an occupying force that is basically militarily holding that eastern part of the island in the area of Guantanamo,
Mm-hmm.
which, by the way, is also very close to Santiago de Cuba, which is the area of the largest black population in Cuba. And it's an area that many people from different parts of the Caribbean who came to Cuba in the 50s and early 40s to cut sugarcane have lived, have inhabited. And even that area today, there are still people who speak English or don't speak Spanish. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the black heart of Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
Santiago. And, it's famous for one of the largest carnivals in the world, the Santiago Carnival, but that's a black thing.
Right, right. So again, just to recap, so if the United States were able, because I think what Sister Gwen was asking, what would they gain? What would the United States gain by invading and obtaining more land? So with what you just said, again, if they were to obtain or have access to even more land, right, that would again position them to a greater extent.
What they would gain basically is to say that the Cuban experience failed,
Okay, gotcha,
and therefore it cannot be an example for anybody else in the area or in the world, and
gotcha. Okay.
therefore they should not do that. I think that is probably one of the most important things for them since
Okay,
1960.
gotcha. Okay. All right. Okay. Any more questions, comments, thoughts?
I have another one. I'm sorry.
No, no,
um,
sure.
if the U.S., the way I see it, is like they're trying to conquer the world, and I believe that is for all the minerals that these countries have. If they can have all the minerals, like the young man said, then they could basically own everybody. This is what they want. They want everything that every country have,
Mm-hmm.
especially the minerals.
Yeah, they want everything that every country also needs, because if they
Mm-hmm.
can control what countries need, then they can determine what those countries will have to do to get it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you need food, then I can tell you what you need to do to get that food.
Mm-hmm.
That was so true, because I was
Mm-hmm.
just reading how in some African states, they want to trade or make a trade. You give me this and I give you that. If you want to eat, this is what you have to give me. And this is what the United States is really doing right now. They're making trades. Sorry.
Oh yes, continue, please.
Oh, I'm done.
No, that was somebody that came in. Their mic was open. They had something playing in the background. So yeah, you could continue that question.
No, yeah. And this is what America is doing. They're trying to make trades. Like for instance, like over in Africa, HIV is high over there. So, but if you want medication, you have to give me this. Now, I was just reading about that, and in certain places, if you want food, you're gonna have to do this for me, and actually, Trump is actually asking for a piece of Africa and a piece of these countries.
I
If
think
you
it's
want us to help you, this is what you have to give us.
I think it's a little more than that because his spokesperson, his Secretary of State Rubio, went to Europe and said, "America wants to make Europe great again. Y'all were
I
great at one
remember.
point. Y'all had colonies that the sun never set on because there were so many colonies. No matter where the sun was, it was on one of Europe's colonies. So that is a position articulated by the empire that they want to help Europe to recolonize Africa. And they're
Yeah.
very open and vocal over that, just like they talk about taking Canada and taking Greenland. And they're the right wing thinks that they now have enough solidarity and enough support around the world that they can say openly what they've been saying for years on the cover. And it's probably good that they're saying it because now we know. We used to guess, we used to think, that's what they're planning, but now there's concrete proof.
I have one more thing, and I promise I'll let you go. um, what do you think about, you know, that before in 1917, uh, no, Israel was given to those people in 1948, but the Rothschild and the British and America had decided that they was going to get, no, they wanted to take Uganda, but they decided on Israel or Palestine. And what do you think about those people fleeing into Uganda today? What do you think will happen? Will they do Uganda like they are doing Palestine and Iran and all of those other Middle Eastern countries? Do you think they would take part of Africa?
I think that their proclivity for genocide is unquenched and that they will continue to kill as many people as they can because they are a minority.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
think I think that also in the case of Uganda, they already have neo-colonial control of Uganda, so they don't have to take it militarily. The people in Uganda, Museveni, etc., will give it to them.
Mm.
And I had one question that I had, Baba, and that is in terms of what are some possible solutions, right? Because you have countries that are under the gun and have been under the thumb of imperialism or under the threats, so on and so forth, and possibly seems like there's no way, as if resistance is futile. So if they don't acquiesce, then they're just going to face further onslaughts. So what could a possibly a Haiti do? When they're feeling the pressures of sanctions, so on and so forth. To not get further bogged down, not get further attacked, so on and so forth, and some of these other countries that are in similar circumstances.
Well, I think the countries that are progressive and revolutionary uh, must be protected. They must be protected at all costs because they're a rare base to us. There's some place that we can run to if we have to. But more than that, there are countries that once they unite will be stronger to protect us and to fight against imperialism. I think that definitely unity is necessary. But even more than unity, I think we need political education. I've
Yeah.
heard some of the most ridiculous statements coming across from people who are in leadership positions, who are Africans and say they speak for Africa, that it's just unfathomable. It's not even that their position is so wrong, but it is so completely off the mark that you have to wonder if they understand definitions. So I think we do need political education. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let me come back over to. Oh, I'm not sure if Sister Robinson had any question. I didn't want to skip over you. If you had any questions or comments.
No, brother, I'm all right. Thank you.
All right, all right. It's much appreciated. All right, let me come back over to Sister Empress.
All right. No, I'm good. I mean, I'm much clearer, and we kind of have some other ideas how we need to look to proceed, and of course continue to support. I thank Baba again for bringing us this information. I mean, this was very, very helpful. Because, the other day, Brother Lumumba, we were having a conversation and someone in our circle was saying something about how they thought Cuba was going to, they were going to give in. Remember that conversation?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, still to my vantage point, it's looking rough for Cuba, right? And as Baba Bambozi was saying, they're possibly having to revert back to coal. The economical stature of them of the country now is in desperate affairs. The power grid, the electrical power grid went down. They had that earthquake, so it's still not looking good from my perception. Can we get any final additions to that, Baba Bambozi?
Well, you're correct. It's not looking good, but the Cuban people are resilient. And anytime it looks like they're down, they're not. That's when they really shine. I think that what we will see in these coming weeks will prove how resilient they are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I believe as well, if these other countries, if they can come forward and can show some of these instances, as you were mentioning, of solidarity, if we can get more of the political education across the board, especially here in America, but in other countries as well, to be able to show that support and to look at some of the consequences and repercussions that would incur if Cuba were to fall.
Yeah.
But also it sounds like there are at least two countries that seem pretty solid in terms of their support, and that is Russia and China. So just that in itself sounds to me, I could be wrong, but sounds to me that there is going to be the capability to to fight back, or shall I say, to resist, because those two countries are committed. And from what I'm hearing, they've already began to, to send supplies in, oil in, and so forth.
Yes.
Interesting enough.
Definitely.
Now, because I saw that they, one of the questions I wanted to ask, my apologies, is how can the United States place sanctions on other countries for selling oil if they're not directly, involved in that process or in that business transaction. I think I might have some idea, but if you could, further elaborate on that and educate the people, and then secondarily, um, I wanted to know if, well, just to add in, there is large chess games that are being played, and it seems as though China and Russia are not going to let Cuba fall because of the strategic military capabilities that it would give to the other superpowers. But I'm just wondering why they've waited so late to get involved in the game in the first place. And are their alliances or some of their business transactions with the United States, does that make them, a lesser or weaker type of ally?
That's a good question, brother. Uh, you know that Russia has been involved in this war, and the U.S. it's a U.S. proxy war, in that the U.S. is using Ukraine to fight for it, to fight for the United States, and to tie up Russia's military capabilities. So you have that issue. You have China with a somewhat similar problem, in that it's been tied up over the question of Taiwan, who the current government of Taiwan is a neo-colonial government, and the U.S. is using them to try to pin China down or keep them on the defensive. So that could possibly be part of the rationale of why they're just moving. But uh, there's other countries that's moving also. Mexico. And Mexico is taking a very strong position in support of Cuba. And they have ships heading to Cuba. And I think that the whole question is whether the U.S. will attempt some kind of military attack. And if they do, what exactly are they planning? I mean, is it going to be an air war like Gaza, like Iran? And also, Cuba is not just a walk in the park. They're prepared. They're prepared.
All right, all right. Much appreciated. Thanks. Give thanks. Back over to you, Sister Empress.
All right. No, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, I again, that helped. That has really given me a lot more clarity, and with that, some further ideas as to how to proceed, or at least attempt to proceed. So, again, Baba Bambozi, thank you so very, very much. And by the way, family, those who might not be familiar with our elder, with our Baba, our advisor, there is over. Should I? No, I'm just going to say there are decades that he has been involved in international affairs, with a special, I would say, when it comes to Cuba, Venezuela, Chile, those areas. But of course, he is very, very astute and knows various countries, their interactions on a certain type of level. And so it's always wonderful to be able to talk with him, because he gives us the kind of insight that you normally are not going to get directly. Again, having that boots on the ground capability, as well as the diplomatic connection too. So, it's we often talk about a holistic approach. Well, you're getting it. You're getting it. So from the grassroots through the glass ceiling is what we call it. So Baba Bambosi, I thank you again. This has been a wonderful conversation and definitely enlightening. And as usual, we appreciate you so very much and love you even more.
My sister, thank you so very much, and thank your audience, and thank our brother who's done an excellent job in at least getting us on, because we were kind of stuck there.
Yeah, yes. But
But
listen, like you, Baba, having faith, we had faith we were gonna get this done. So,
all
and
right,
here it is.
thank you.
All right, good thanks. All right, family. So again, that was Brother Baba Bambozi Shango. And of course, he has been with the AAPRP GC, which is General Counsel, for decades. And again, directly engaging, involved with the countries that you heard us talk about, specifically, again, Venezuela, Bolivia, Chile, and of course, Cuba. He has extensive interactions with those countries and other things. So again, we are so blessed to be able to have that kind of interaction and connection with folk. And this is what we've been building for years, as quiet as it's kept, to make certain that as we proceed in the development of this movement, MWM Universal, that we do so with a level of not only integrity, but, real direct kinds of interactions. And so this is what you'll be seeing even more as we proceed in the next year, bringing forward the Million Woman March reunion. MWM 30 is next year, and we will be connecting some of the international pieces. And by the way, we are working on inviting the new president of Namibia. Namibia now has its first woman president. So we are looking to invite her to come to join us. All right. All right. So let us move on. And of course, Baba Barbosa, you're still with us. So you got to get some of the sisters to join us for the international piece that we'll have for next year. So we'll talk more about that later. But
Right on, right on.
You know it. All right, so listen, we have Sister Elaine Riddick with us now. And again, we're going to talk, and see, this too is an international connection. Of course, we're focusing more on the U.S. right at this time, but this thing of Depo-Provera. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Sister Elaine is going to help you get familiar with it. And with that, also help you to know some of what's really going on. Sister Elaine, you ready to bring it?
I'm here.
All right. Okay, let's just do a little recap before we go into that. So Sister Elaine Riddick, of course, is, and she made it very clear, she's not a victim. She is a survivor. She is a survivor of what we not only call genocide, right? And again, see, people talk about certain things, but here we have a sister with us who literally experienced it. Not from a book, not from a conversation, but in fact, by being sterilized and that being forced, that being coerced, that being manipulated. And so, to have gone through that experience and survive it, and then to stand strong and fight in whatever way possible, the types of programs and entities that and mindsets that produced what happened with her, because that's what they do. So it ain't like they're going to stop. They're going to figure out something else to create or do that is destructive, particularly for our people. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you, Sister Elaine, and you jump in wherever you'd like, but we definitely want to give our folks some insight into what is this Depo-Provera. Now we know that the government issued it or showed us, or corporations, that this is a good way for birth control. It's easy. You only got to do it every 3 months. I'm going to let you talk about it. You got it.
Well,
What
okay.
before you do that, if I could bring you in really quickly, because I wanted to play this quick clip, just to give a little bit of context of some of your background and history, if that's okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead, brother. Mm-hmm.
And then you can bring a little bit further context to the clip, and then move forward from there.
I had to have a child at the age of 14. When I had my son, they went into me at the same time as a cesarean birth and took my child. And when they did that, they sterilized me. What do you think I'm worth? What do you think I'm worth?
Elaine Riddick was 13 when a neighbor raped her. Then she endured what she refers to as her second rape. State officials declared Riddick feeble-minded and unfit to have children.
Main reason is because I was poor and I am black. So I believe that with all of my heart.
Based on the pseudoscience of eugenics, more than 30 states passed laws allowing for the forced sterilization of so-called defectives. The goal was to rid society of certain undesirable traits.
Some of those traits that they named were epilepsy, feeble-mindedness, promiscuity, criminal mentalities.
Researchers believe that as many as 100,000 Americans were victimized. By the time North Carolina ended its own eugenics program in 1974, it had taken away the reproductive rights of 7,600 people. Most, like Riddick, were poor. Tony Riddick still lives close to his mother's hometown in the coastal plain. He says she doesn't come home often.
They used to call it Little Korea. Yeah, Little Korea. The reason why is because it was very violent, coming up. She grew up in a very, very abusive home. My mother's life and my life, by any measure, would have been, should have been, could have been totally written off. But the fact of the matter is God still prevails, and I'm grateful for that. Very, very grateful.
All right, let me go ahead and stop the screen share there, family.
Wow. Nice clip, Brother Lamola. Thank you.
All right,
okay, so for those who
thank you
for those who didn't know, that was Elaine. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, Sister Elaine.
Yeah, well, they did this to little boys and girls as young as 5 years old. 5 years old. Little boys, they castrated. I mean, and I'm still devastated because of that, just knowing that these people are so vicious, and it hurts my heart to see the things that they're doing and how they are doing the RNA interference technology, where they grow certain foods that attacks our DNA. Now that was surgical sterilization, but they also do covert sterilization. And this is where Depo-Provera comes in at. Covert sterilization is like, they develop crops to change your DNA, and a lot of us, we have never heard of that before. Covert sterilization through crop, through foods, through water. Everything that they give us is to harm us. So I wouldn't take anything from them. However, back in the 60s, Depo-Provera has been out for a long time. And this is how they control Black women in Atlanta. It started in Atlanta, Georgia, I believe, where, they would inject these women for years and years and years with Depo-Provera. And a lot of our women, it has side effects, hemorrhaging, some women not having a period, baldness, obesity, double vision, blood clots, heart attacks. It just caused a lot of things. And, we saw women and, we didn't know what was wrong with them, and we don't know what's wrong with even our little boys today, because they're giving our boys Depo-Provera, and doing that covert sterilization through food and water and all of that stuff like that. But what they didn't tell you, when they force this Depo on women, they don't tell them of the side effects, and they don't tell them that they should not take that birth control for no more than 2 years. For 2 years, after 2 years, you have to find other means of birth control. I have a friend, her daughter hemorrhage, had a brain bleed. She died at 21 after taking Depo-Provera. Depo-Provera is a synthetic birth control, and nobody should take it. It causes cancer, tumors. Not me, but, a woman can have a tumor and go to the doctor today, and to get it, they will burst it inside of her uterus, and it's back twice as big. And you see us wearing wigs and things, and we don't know why our hair is falling out. It's from the Depo shot. I have a group of over about 350 women in my group that have had the Depo shot. And some of the things that they tell me, it is so scary. I mean, they hemorrhaging for 2 and 3 years. I mean, bleeding for 2 and 3 years nonstop. And then you have another group of women that say, well, I haven't had my period for 2 or 3 years. And that blood got to go somewhere.
Mm.
It's got to go somewhere, and we don't understand. It causes mental illness. So we look around and we see our little boys walking around with their pants down, our girls like boys, because now you don't have permission from your parent to get these birth controls. The schools can take you to the clinic and they can give 12-year-old little girls birth control. Depo-Provera. It causes blindness. And nobody never thought that it was the Depo. When I started my group in 2013, we was having the Essure. I was working with the girls that was getting the Essure, which is nickel and some other form of metal that they was injecting in their arm. And it caused them to have some kind of autoimmunity deficiency. And I'm working with all of these people and I'm saying, oh my God, nobody never told you. I had to do a lot of research and I had to tell these girls what was wrong with them. You are dying. Look at over in Israel. They gave over 250 women, African women, the Depo shot. Over in, where was it? Is it Nigeria? In another, it's not Nigeria, but in another country over there, they gave over 2,000 girls the Depo shot, and it was laced with another chemical, which caused them to become sterilized. So this is what I'm saying. We don't know what we're up against. We already know that they want to depopulate us or exterminate us. And this is all it is. It's extermination through food, birth control, or any means, or whatever means. And I tell these girls about going to these clinics, having an abortion. Why you go and ask these people to lynch your womb? Because that's all it is. If you can't have a child, Depo-Provera causes sterility too. The Issua, it causes sterility too. You have the covert sterilization through foods and water and all of this stuff. It causes, sterility. Covert sterilization, that means that a whole lot of people are being sterilized at one time because you're eating this food. They develop crops that targets your DNA. And you want to know why we got so many little boys and girls out there, boys acting like girls and girls acting like boys? There you go. If you put two men together, you can't populate. Two women together, you can't populate. There you go. They're giving our little boys Depo-Provera. They're giving our men in prison Depo-Provera. And it messes with the mind. These are chemicals, and your body is not made for these synthetic drugs, this synthetic food, the food that's being processed in a lab. You don't even know what's going in that food, but yet and still they're putting it in our neighborhoods and we're eating it, and it's killing us. No matter what they say, it's killing us, and we're supposed to shut up and eat it. I mean, chemicals and all. So anyway, it causes jaundice, liver problem, rash, swelling, severe allergy reactions. Really? And we don't have no clue about how they're taking our lives. We have no clue. It's just like when they develop, and I say this, HIV/AIDS was developed in a lab, and where did it go to? The Black community. It went to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even think about what's going on. All of this stuff is they are creating in a lab and then giving it to us. The drugs. Look at the stuff that they're giving our people. It's not only the Depo-Provera. Some of our people are walking around like zombies, and we don't question nothing. We just accept everything that they say. They say that this is good for you. This is what we're going to take. We're going to happily take it. But we have to start questioning everything and stop eating this food that they're giving us that's causing cancer, that's causing liver problems, that's causing heart attacks, obesity. It's not only the Depo-Provera, and now if you was to get a lawyer, if you developed any of these symptoms, they only take one type of symptom. They only take one type of case. That is, if you had fluid on the brain. Fluid on the brain. And then here's another thing they don't tell you, which is important, that you should not breastfeed your child if you are taking Depo-Provera, because you are passing down that chemical to your baby through your breast milk. And you want to know why our kids can't learn or why they're the way they are? There you go. And the doctor don't tell you nothing. They tell you it's okay to breastfeed because now they're killing 2 people or 3 people.
All right. So let's stop there, and for that's a lot. Needless to say, thank you, Sister Elaine. We want to open up the floor for any questions, comments. And again, Sister Elaine has worked in researching and assessing this particular area of things for some time now, over a decade. Brother Mumba, did you see the clip that I sent?
I did not.
Okay, please check either your email or text. And the reason why I want to show this, a very brief clip, family, but what I know about our people is a lot of times when we say something, meaning those of us who are activists, organizers, things of that nature, a lot of times when we say certain things, it's almost as if you either don't believe it or we don't know enough to be saying it or whatever. So we've learned that at this stage of the game. And so when Brother Lumumba plays his clip, this is coming from a recognized news media and a government department. So what Sister Elaine has said, some of what she has said, we are now going to show you that there are entities who are now saying some of the same things. Even though this was being said years ago, it's only been in the past 3 or 4 years that government agencies are now saying that warnings have to be put on the packaging. Oh, does that sound familiar? Does that sound like, yeah, well, and cigarettes. Remember, it took cigarettes, 60 years or so before they decided that they would put on the package, beware, harmful, It took like 50, 60 years before they did that. So now, even though this is something that you and others have been saying for a while, because the research is out there, but there was no action being taken. Well, now the so-called officials are now saying that warnings have to be put on the packaging. Brother Moomba, you have it? What happened? He got froze.
Why he's finding that, I wrote to Congress and I explained to them, and I think I still have the letter somewhere, where I told them that it didn't have the correct labeling on Depo-Provera. And eventually it came back and they told these pharmaceutical companies that they had to label Depo-Provera as a black box warning. That means that a black box warning means that it's deadly. And even though they know that it's deadly, they still haven't compensated none of these women. The only ones that they will compensate, of course, it's not none of us, is if they have fluid on the brain.
Okay. And Sister Elaine, again, Brother Moonbib should be back on in a few moments because he got frozen. But the other thing, and we're going to have this conversation very soon as well. We're going to do several town hall meetings to talk about the chemical hair relaxers, the dyes, and the glues that is now being put on folks' eyes, also the fingernails, because we now have evidence, literally we have reports of what some of that stuff is doing to our women and girls' bodies. And remember, like earlier days, and mothers didn't know. They just didn't know, but they were, getting perms for the girls early, 5, 6. I know. I remember my mom. Anyway. So, but we didn't know. They didn't know, right? So now this information is readily available. But the entities, including government, is saying that the chemical hair relaxer does in fact cause ovarian cancer. That is a fact. That is documented. And there are lawsuits now in that regard. So we're going to be talking more about that, because the next area of things is going to be the glue, the synthetic hair. We have proof now that even some of the hair that people are using is toxic.
Yes,
and we have to get this information out to our people. Because, this is dangerous. This is very dangerous. Okay. Okay, let's see if Brother Lumumba's back yet with the clip. I'm not seeing him yet. Okay, there he is. Okay.
So I was experiencing some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I listen. We get it. That's what happens starting off. But okay, so we're gonna see this clip. It's very brief, but again, for those who might have had doubts, and it's not, and I mean, it's just the way things are. You know, we know that most of us are programmed, and we're still struggling with that. But here is some authoritative, entities that people will recognize who have now said that Depo-Provera does in fact, and by the way, at some point the studies are going to go into effect whereby, children that they're saying with the, the ADHD, well, that too now is being linked possibly to Depro.
Yes.
Okay. The study is not in totally yet, but they're looking at it closer, right? So again, okay, Brother Lumumba, do you have it?
I gotta pull it back up now because I got knocked off. So I gotta.
Okay. And so again, family, we've got to really now listen to what's being told to us, because again, some of these things have been told or have been said over the years, and I'm seeing now. I cannot believe the dyes that I'm seeing in our sisters' hairs now. I mean, we've always used dye like red, a little bit red, but all these colors that we're now seeing. And I know, folks like to make a artistic statement and things of that nature, but in reality, what is that? That stuff is going in your brain. Okay, I mean, let's start thinking about some of this. This is and then for the younger sisters who really don't know certain things, okay, here we are. Check this out. Look, y'all see ABC, y'all. Now, if you wasn't believing Sister Elaine, or not necessarily believing, but if it wasn't kind of, hitting the note, maybe because it's ABC, maybe it will.
In a story the 7 News I-Team has been covering for months surrounding a popular birth control method and brain tumor risks.
Senior investigator Lisa Fletcher is here now with a major update on this. Lisa, this comes on the heels of your latest investigation just last week about why women in other countries were warned about the risk, but women in America were not.
Yeah, that's right, Scott. In a major reversal, the FDA says American women should be warned about the potential link between injectable Depo-Provera and brain tumors known as meningiomas. The FDA approved a request from Pfizer, Depo-Provera's maker, to update its warning label to include the risk of meningioma. It's something women in Canada and the EU have been warned about on the packaging since 2022, but American women were never given those warnings. That includes Randy Hicks, who told us she's still suffering from the impacts of a brain surgery to remove one of those tumors she believes is tied to the use of injectable Depo-Provera.
Did anybody tell you about the risks of a brain tumor associated with Depo-Provera when you were considering starting on it?
No, they did not. I mean, I think it's an injustice to women that we are taking medication that we're not being thoroughly educated on the side effects and the causes, health causes that this particular medicine can cause.
This is our first look at that new label. It makes it pretty clear. Meningioma cases have been reported with repeated use of Depo-Provera. And it says doctors should tell patients with a history of meningioma about the possible risk and monitor patients for signs and symptoms.
So, Lisa, what's the basis for changing the label?
Well, there's mounting science that is connecting the active ingredient in Depo-Provera and meningiomas, with one study last year finding a 5-fold increased risk of developing those tumors among patients who had used that birth control.
In the meantime, though, Lisa, still a pending lawsuit going on about this, right?
Yeah, that's right. Thousands of women are suing Pfizer over brain tumors that they say were caused by Depo-Provera. Right now, the court is deciding if those lawsuits can move forward. Pfizer argued that since the FDA rejected their request to add warnings to the labels in 2024, they were protected from any legal liability. But plaintiffs' attorneys say Pfizer intentionally submitted a substandard request, knowing the FDA would reject it and then use that as their legal defense. We're going to see how this all plays out and whether this reversal from the FDA changes things.
All right. Lisa Fletcher continuing to dig up new information for you.
All right, there you have it, family.
Okay, yep, there you go. The Food and Drug Administration even.
So, it's not only Pfizer, it's also Upjohn, because Upjohn knew what it was doing to women. They knew this many, many years ago because they were studying the Black woman. And what happened was when they actually found out that it was causing cancer and all of these issues, they jumped up and sold it to Pfizer. And Pfizer continued to let it go on. So they should be held accountable.
Wow.
But that's what they do. They just switch hands. Upjohn had it. Upjohn started it and sold it to Pfizer. And our women, you can basically just walk down the street, especially in the poor Black communities, and you can tell who's using this stuff. And it's appalling when the school can take a child to Grady or whatever hospital, and have them injected with this. It's crazy when they inject our little boys with this. Why do you think we have so many gay little children?
Mm-hmm.
We never, and then you have the MMR vaccine as well that's called, and you was talking about something you said about ADHD. Also, the MMR vaccine causes ADHD in our little boys. They seem to have been giving it to our little Black boys more than they were giving it to anyone else. This is normal for them to use us as guinea pigs. And we must stop this. You was also talking about the braids that the women are wearing. All that hair, all that synthetic hair is poison. It's chemically treated. That's synthetic. And anything that's synthetic isn't good for you.
All right, family. So you all just heard not only a in-depth report, but you also heard a validation of some of what was being said as it was reported. So let's get ready to open up the floor and see if there's any questions, comments, thoughts. But before we do that, I'm going to add that one of the things that MWM is doing as we bring forward for our 30-year anniversary is our own, what we call consumer protection and awareness group. See, this system banks on the fact that we're not organized. And so, as I often say, what Baba Kwame Ture taught, we heard it and embraced it. Organize, organize, organize. And so we put these pieces together so that we have something in place as opposed to being reactionary, as opposed to, oh, here's a crisis and now we got to do something. No, if people don't know by now how the system operates, what it will do, what it is doing, then they're just stuck on stupid. And that is not us. So we're preparing and we will be prepared. So with that said, You'll hear us talk more about our consumer protection and awareness entity that will be able to do research and document things, and also make sure that it's sending out information about various things that comes up as a consumer. I remember coming up, the dude that used to always do consumer stuff. I think his name was it Ralph Nader was his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
him.
I think he made transition. But my point is that we never really have our own people in that kind of position, you see. And at this stage of the game, that makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. So again, we have learned from those who have come before us. We're putting some of these pieces in place now. And for those who really are serious, really are about it, they're going to have access to things that they should have been had, actually. But again, consumer, and let me preference that for you, Black consumer protection and awareness. That group of us will be able to provide information, evaluation of things. You know, there are products that come out. And again, these types of things, it indicates that a people are really functioning when in fact they take the time to read the reviews on a new product, or, you know, can write an opinion about a new product. Other people are doing that. Why aren't we? Anyway, we're going to be. So let's open up the floor. Brother Mumba, can we do that?
Yes, indeed. Okay. Let me add to the stage. All right. So with that being said, if we can open the floor up, any questions or comments that you all might have for our sister and warrior woman, Elaine Riddick. All right. Questions or comments, family? Okay. I have a question myself. Let me see. Does somebody open their mic up? Somebody have a question or a comment?
Yeah, this is Bambushi.
Oh, yes, sir.
I just was listening to our sister, and that one point that she made about the sterilization of actually Ethiopian women in Israel is something that's akin to how it was also going on here for the same reason. And, you know, they came and kidnapped Ethiopians because the Ethiopian Jews, the Falasha Jews, are actually the first Jews in the world. And they wanted to use them to help to legitimize the Zionist state of Israel. And while they wanted to use them and say, you know, we came and saved the Eritrean, the Ethiopian Jews, the Falasha Jews, while they were going through a period of famine in Ethiopia and most of Northeast Africa, they didn't necessarily want them to be a real part of the Israeli society. They wanted to make them part of the military and part of the police, and that's what they are today in Israel. But this process of giving them this medication is a serious fact that Israel has done to our people from Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And so thank you for mentioning that, sister.
You're welcome.
And Baba Bambozi, we kind of talked about it a little last week, but of course this week we went more in depth. And I mentioned that year when it was reported, I don't remember what year it was. It just so happened I was at the UN for Women's History Month that year, and did a presentation on the genocide of the women. Being forced to be sterilized. I literally did a presentation. Now to fast forward, we were at the UN, I guess now maybe 2-3 years ago. And Sister Elaine, I want you, if you have any thing you want to share with us on this particular issue, the new thing that's getting ready to be implemented, they've already started in Africa, and they're going to do it here in the U.S. as well. That's why a lot of things are changing with the public school systems. And Sister Elaine mentioned earlier that now they don't have to ask permission to do certain things with the children. What's happening is, and we saw this at the United Nations, they're already putting it in place. Billions of dollars have been provided to distribute the vaccine starting at 12 to supposedly curtail ovarian cancer. The papilloma, whatever it is, I'll tell you in a minute what it is. But at any rate, there is literally a vaccine, and they're starting in Africa. And we sat in a session at the United Nations where the women from various countries were so happy that these corporations were bringing this new vaccine into their country. Because along with the vaccine, came other perks. And so this is what's getting ready to be distributed all through Africa, and it's coming into the United States, but they're doing it in Africa first. And I'm sure other countries. Go ahead.
I have to actually, they have been doing it here in the United States. And now they're taking it into Africa. But they have been doing that here for years in the United States. Google. People are complaining about their kids dying, and something is going on with them, but they have been doing it here for a very, very long time. I think probably since since 2015, they've been doing it here. And the thing that they are doing in Africa is, I can't think of it right now, but they are lacing, is the Depo-Provera injection laced with tetanus vaccine. And not only are they giving those kids that over there, the Depo-Provera laced with tetanus that sterilized over 2,000 girls of childbearing age. And I can't think of the name of the country, but it's a very popular country over there that they did that to. And then, of course, they went over there, and Bill Gates was the one that did that. And he also, they're just doing so much, it's hard to keep up with everything that they're doing. But yeah, they've been doing that over here.
Well, see, the thing is, they've been doing it here, but it's not. See, what's getting ready to happen now is it's going to be like right in our communities. See, right now it's there, but it's not there. What I'm saying is the plan, and they're starting at 11. Between 11 and 12 is the projected, age group, and specifically for girls. And so my point is that this is going to be an actual campaign that is going to be pushed. I mean, it's going to be a real kind of, TV, your health centers, and so forth and so on. Because it's going to be highly funded now. Right. And like you said, Bill Gates was one of them. And again, this is being pushed now through the United Nations. Right. And so, again, it's going to happen more so now here in the U.S. because it's coming under the guise of treating or preventing cancer. See, just like with COVID, They had to create a public safety, situation in order to push that stuff. Right. And see, that's what's getting ready to happen with this new HPV is what it's called.
Yeah,
They're saying that the increase of cancer, ovarian cancer, they're going to be saying that they figured out a way to prevent it or to lessen it, to lessen the risk. And that way, more people, mothers in particular, will buy into getting their daughters this vaccine. You see? And so what again? And this is what's getting ready to happen. And so, again, because a lot of our people, unfortunately, are very ignorant and still believe in the system. And as a result, they're going to be thinking it's going to be best for them and go ahead and do it. And so I'm saying again, it's going to be up to those of us who have this information and have the capability to communicate. We have to make sure that we, at least to the best of our abilities, put that information out there so that they know. Historically speaking, this system waits a good 50 years before it then tells you what the symptoms really are going to be or what the effects are really going to be. They wait usually 50 years before they tell you that it's deadly.
But you said that they are saying that they're doing this so it would keep a young girl from developing cancer, but what it does is that it causes them to develop cancer. I'm very much familiar with that. There's a lot of, girl, we got a lot of work to do.
No doubt.
Because we have a lot of work to do. And the thing is that, if the parents don't do it, look, the government has taken all the rights from the parent. The parents don't have no rights. And they'll tell you that child don't belong to you. That child belongs to us. You can keep it until it's 18 years old, but until it's 18, it's ours. Until it's after 18, when it's a child, it belongs to the government. Once it reach 18, you can have it back. That's sad. After you done cause all this damage, then you want to give the child back. And CPS has a lot to do with this crazy stuff. This is crazy.
Let me just read something real quickly. It boggles your brain. It really does. Listen to this for a moment. Okay, recommendation: routine vaccination recommended for children age 11 to 12, but can start at age 9. Then it says adults 27 to 45. Doctors may recommend for some adults based on risk. Then it says dosage scheduled age 9 to 14, 2 doses with the second 6 to 12 months after the first. From ages 15 to 45, 3 doses, usually administered over 6 months. Effectiveness: provides long-lasting protection after infection. It is most effective when given before exposure to the virus. Side effects: generally mild, including swelling, soreness at the injection site, fever, headaches, or dizziness. And they're talking about starting at 9.
Look,
if I could jump in really quickly.
Sure.
This is great information. And one of the things that I'm going to ask another question on another side, but I'll stay here for now. But as far as the information is concerned, I think it's important, and perhaps might have to come back again for a final session, because I think what some of our people need to know and understand is, because we're talking about what they are providing and the benefits that they are saying that it could possibly have. I think it's important for us also to provide them with the information and some of the statistics and some of the hard evidences on the abnormalities that it causes, the
Right.
symptoms, so on and so forth. So people can see firsthand and from reputable sources and from witness testimonies, the adverse effects of these vaccines, so on and so forth. Because if they're not seeing that in contrast to that, heavy propaganda that they're receiving, then it's going to be hard for them to say, I'm not going to participate in that because, that fear campaign is very heavy and, it's very effective.
Sure, sure. But the thing, the trickery here is this is being given as a way of prevention. So this is, I mean, you got to remember, you got to think about it in the context of, playing with your brain. What is the likeliness of, and note, they're talking about giving this to males too. At some point, it's more so geared to the females, but they're also looking at making sure that they start injecting males. So, if the prevention situation is for ovarian and cervical cancer, I'm confused.
Well, you know what? You can have a cancer cell, and a lot of this stuff that they're giving us, they don't even check your cells, number one. But some of this stuff can cause, if you have the cell, if you have a cancer cell, and they're like, for instance, Depo-Provera, maybe, my husband went into the military. He's a retired from the Air Force, right? And what happened, he had the MS cell, and some of the vaccines that they gave him caused a trigger. You see, so doctors don't even go that far when they inject you with anything or prescribe anything to you. You could already have that cell in you.
Right.
And when
And
they inject
right.
you, it can cause
That's right.
a trigger.
That's
And
right.
that's the thing that we have to deal with. Why
Yep.
aren't they telling us? They're not doing blood tests or whatever it is that they need to do to see if we can take this.
Yeah, I remember one of our doctors, I don't know if it was Dr. Sabi or Dr. Layla Africa, but one of our well-known doctors said, I believe one of them said that we all have some type of cancer in our bodies. Say that there's already some type of or something similar to that that's already in your body. And so it's just a question of how that develops or doesn't develop. Right. So I thought that was very interesting. And that, that there's something in all of our bodies that is sort of that type already.
Parasite.
Well, they didn't call it a parasite because that's a little different. I'm familiar with parasites, but no, this was a cell. This is a cell. It had to do with a cell.
Yeah.
But I agree with brother. Right. Yep.
So, yeah. But that's the kind of what Sister Lane was touching on. Because folks could have the trait of something.
Right. Yeah.
And not be engaged. But different elements. The environment. The different chemicals and so on and so forth that is found in different products and foods and so on and so forth can help to activate these dormant cells and traits that we have.
Right.
So,
sure.
That's the aspect that people need to know and learn more about, how to go about getting proper full or more fuller extensions of testing, as Sister Lane was mentioning, the actual blood testing beyond just a basic cancer screening. You can actually get blood tests to be able to further determine, what possible traits that you may have, so you can avoid, activating these things, and you can know better, what type of medications, quote unquote, to avoid, so on and so forth. So I think all of these elements of proper education, if we can bring some more of these things forefront. You know, again, probably had to have a whole nother session in order to do so. But to bring these things to the forefront so people are more informed, and that way they can be more empowered. And also the other applications of proper diet. You know, how fasting actually brings your body into autophagy, which purges toxic cells and damaged cells from your body, right? And things that we can eat in order to boost our immune system, in order to fight off different diseases, to put our bodies in the best state and phase of health, to be able to stay off certain diseases and fight off certain diseases and prevent certain diseases. So I think all of these things can come together, you know, in combination, in conjunction, in order to help, you know, our people get a better fight within these arenas.
You know, and speaking of that, Brother Moom, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we'll be sharing with folks very soon our international campaign for the fight for the cure as it pertains to sickle cell. That too is one of our projects for next year, that we are more shall we say, aggressive in dealing with the issue of sickle cell anemia. And so that is one of the things that we will be recommending to people who are planning to get married. They definitely need to be tested, because you see, we haven't been sharing that information to a degree of reality. So again, with our campaign, we'll be saying to people that we strongly suggest to them that they get tested, because it is for certain that the research definitely shows that if you marry someone, you have that trait, and someone else have that trait. And even if you have the trait and that person doesn't have the trait, you should know. But certainly if both of you have the trait, if you're having children, it's going, the research shows it's going to be a positive with the child.
Right.
And so people need to be aware of that. We have to be more responsible.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And if I could if I could segue really quickly, because we talked about the depot and the vaccines and things of that nature, but I wanted to just circle back really quickly, if I could, to your the way that you were treated and violated, as far as your forced sterilization and the connections with eugenics, with Margaret Sanger, okay, and how that connects to Nazi Germany, and connecting that back to how can some of these individuals of the quote unquote, new Zionist Jewish state condone some of these things that they're doing, when people go full circle back into these type of eugenics practices, which brought upon the Holocaust. Can you touch base on that, Sister Elaine?
I don't think I can right now.
Okay.
But we must know that what eugenics are, and this is the whole topic of all tonight. Come to think, since you put it to me like that, this is the whole topic, as what we was talking about with the young man that was on earlier, and when I said that they wants to own the world, they want a real pure white race. They want a one bloodline. And that is blonde hair and blue eyes. I don't care if you're white, if you have brown hair, if you have red hair, if you don't have blonde hair and blue eyes, then you are mixed with something else and you must die. That's the whole thing of the whole conversation of the stuff in Israel, what was going on over here in Cuba, all over the place. It's a one world order. They just want one world race. Blonde hair, a pure bloodline, blonde hair with blue eyes.
Thank you for that. Let me see if I can connect some of these dots really quickly, though. Let me just go down this line. So when we talk about eugenics, we're talking about Margaret Sanger, right? So Margaret Sanger is the mother of eugenics and eugenics
Planned Parenthood.
project, right? And what things
Yeah.
missing because that is a direct connection to Planned Parenthood, right? Which is pushing what? Abortions. Okay, so when we're connecting these things together, now see they come in the guise of quote unquote Planned Parenthood as if they're trying to help people plan to be parents, but in fact they're really pushing and promoting for people not to become parents and pushing the choices or pushing people further into getting abortions. Okay, and so when you look at the base of wanting to eliminate certain people, right? When you look at a broad kind of characterization such as feeble-mindedness, I mean, what are even the qualifications of these? Right, so that means you can just take this vague term and then blanket that on whoever you need to be able to categorize them in the way that you want to be able to sterilize them and eliminate them from the gene pool. Right, so that is eugenics. That's Margaret Sanger. Now that goes over into Planned Parenthood and the eugenics program that was borrowed from Margaret Sanger was the one that was adopted for Nazi Germany, and their platform of pushing forward with the Holocaust. And then when you spin right back around to today, you have what was described earlier of the Zionist state taking on the Ethiopians and then forcing this sterilization on them, another type of Holocaust. And the Zionist Jewish state will say, you know, never again. But they themselves are pushing this type of genocidal Holocaust on another nation of people. So I just wanted to connect all of those dots really quickly and show everyone the sheer hypocrisy of what is going on presently.
Margaret Sanger, she's the founder of Planned Parenthood. And I remember reading and I remember studying her. And one thing that stuck out to me, one of the things when I knew that she was a racist, a KKK, a eugenicist, she said, if you really want to hate a nigga, the best way to hate a nigga is to kill it before it's born. So here we go back with the extermination, but before she started putting Planned Parenthood clinics in Black neighborhood, she was exterminating the Jewish women. She was actually, she owned her first building, I think it was in Brownsville, New York. And when the Jews started coming over here by boat, the first place they would go was to Margaret Sanger. And she would actually sterilize them. Not give them abortion, she would actually sterilize them. You know, I mean, what was that for? And this is why now they take it out of the Jewish community and they put it in the Black community. So now you have Planned Parenthood all over the place in the Black, in the inner cities, in the Black neighborhoods. But she was like Laughlin and
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you can go.
No, I was just saying, so these are prime examples, and you see the many insidious ways in which they try to eliminate and thin out the gene pool family. And then, you know, I gotta connect that back into, you know, ancestor Francis Cress Welsing and Neely Fuller when we talk about, you know, what was described then as the notion of the advent of white supremacy and how that works, right?
Exactly.
Now we look at it
Yeah.
today of a white inferiority complex because it is because of those recessive traits that the Caucasian race in many cases fear genetic annihilation. And that's the root cause of all this hatred, racism, so on and so forth that we see today, trying to eliminate others from the gene pool so their recessive genes may have a chance of survival.
Exactly.
All right, family. So let me open up the floor one more time for any questions and comments because we're getting ready to close this session out shortly. All right. So let me open up the floor, family. Questions or comments? All right. Let me come back to you all for I'm not sure if Baba Bambozi is still with us, but I want to come back to you all, our special guest for this evening, for final thoughts and closing remarks for the evening. Baba Bambozi, if you're still with us, I want to come to you for final thoughts and closing remarks.
I'm still here, bro. And thank my sister. That was a great explanation of these poisonous and genocidal drugs that they're giving our people all over the world. My final remarks would be to ask everyone to be aware of what's going on in Cuba and Venezuela this week, and to get a clear understanding of how we can move in solidarity to make our humble contributions.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Much appreciated. Again. And thank you for joining us this evening, Baba Bambozi.
Thank you, bro.
And let me come over to Sister Warrior Woman, Elaine Riddick. Final thoughts, closing remarks.
Okay, final thoughts. Black women have been sterilized for centuries. Remember Dr. Marion Sims, who he owned slave women, and if they got pregnant, he would take them in the backyard, put them on a picnic table, and sterilize them and put them back in the field. Now, this doctor is the same doctor, Dr. Marion Sims. He used to take the shoemaker's horn. He wanted to see if Black babies felt pain. He would take the shoemaker's horn and stick it in the top of the Black baby's head. Did you hear me? I mean, these people are ruthless. They said, and listen, they would sterilize Black women in the backyard. I think he was from Alabama, and he went to New York. They had a statue up at him of him, and they took it down in I think it was New York City recently. He would sterilize Black women in the backyard without no type of anesthesia.
That's right. That's right.
So this is really, really a lot of work because we have a lot of stuff that we have to undo that was done to us. And we have to stop walking through the forest, through the wilderness blind. Because there's so much being done to us, and we're sitting here, and the next thing you know, they're going to be knocking on your door ready to take you out. I mean, and I'm talking about all of us.
That's right.
Because this is their goal.
I say. And thank you for that addition, Warrior Woman, Sister Elaine Riddick. Coming over to you, Sister Empress, for your final thoughts, closing remarks for this evening.
Wow. Well, it's been another powerful, great new day. I want to thank Sister Elaine again for, just speaking truth to power, and of course, Baba Bambozi. Oh, yeah. I just want to say this, though, about the pure race and all of that. For me, Sister Elaine, I think they've gone into another direction now. I think the idea of what some call white supremacy, and we're talking about a mindset, we're talking about a behavior. I think that's really their primary now, not so much as the blue eyes and the blonde hair thing. And the reason why I say that is because, and you mentioned it earlier, the Rockefellers, the Gettys, the Rothschilds. See, these people are about power in every way possible. So their primary focus is not the idea or the physical. I think it's a little deeper than that now. Because remember, when you know the history of the Rothschilds, supposedly, they were dealing with breeding amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Right? See, it wasn't about having to produce the hair or whatever. They just wanted to make sure that they kept that bloodline amongst themselves. So the uncle was with the niece and supposedly. So I'm saying this is, for me, in looking closer at how some of the stuff operates now, it is really about power. Whatever way it looks, that's the main modus operandum. Now, lastly, on that note, you heard how some comedians joke about how Donald Trump looks or interacts with his daughter. Anybody ever hear those little sly remarks about that?
Well,
But anyway,
national TV, so.
Right. So I'm just saying, for me, I think it's something else now that is the primary. And it is about maximum full power. See, and so it's not just the physical now, it's also the spiritual. You see, that's what I'm seeing and feeling. I think they realize that the visible is too obvious. That's too obvious. And so now it's about doing things in a manner that is as deadly, but not again as tangible, not so easily to pinpoint as they were before. Because remember, every system or every approach to certain thing always upgrades, always advances its tactics. And I think that's what we're seeing now. So that's my thought. But in either way, in whatever the case may be, we know who our enemies are. No matter whatever you want to call it, we know who they are, period. Okay.
All right. Give thanks. And thank you for that addition, Sister Anthony. Yes, family. So I think we might again have to come back for one more third session and those solutions that we were talking about, bringing those facts, bringing those statistics, bringing those forms of testings, bringing those witness testimonies, to be able to provide you with the additional information and insights that you may need to battle or fight against this, and the other sides and perspectives of things, so you can at least make the most educated, informed, and discerned decisions that you possibly can based on all of the facts. All right, family. How diet and nutrition, plays a role in all of these things and keeping us healthy, so on and so forth, family. So we want to definitely make sure we bring in that aspect and part of things to the table as well, again, so we can help to empower you all right, and help to further educate everyone, edify everyone, including ourselves. All right, family. So with that being said, we were getting ready to close out for this evening. Let me just share this really quickly before I close out, and let me share this with you all just to cover all of the bases. All right, so this is a quick disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in the media or comments on this channel are those of the speakers or authors and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcaster. Due to the social nature of this broadcast, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. This channel owner claims no copyright to said content. The broadcaster of this channel cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. The broadcaster of this channel is a messenger and sharer of information and strive to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this channel. If you have a complaint about something or find your content is being used incorrectly, please contact the broadcaster prior to making a copyright claim. Any infringement was not done on purpose and will be rectified to all parties' satisfaction. Let me stop my screen share there. Let me also say that this is not any medical advice, all right, anything of that nature. You do have to do your own due diligence, family, and contact and refer to experts in the field, herbalists, nutritionists, doctors, so and so forth. With that being said, we're getting ready to close out for this evening, family. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Resurrection and Liberation. With that being said, I'm gonna close out. I want to say, first and foremost, I gotta give thanks to the ancestors. First and foremost, I gotta give thanks to the Most High, Creator, Creatress. I have to thank the ancestors and the elders, those who have shed blood, sweat, and tears in order to pave the way to allow us to be here today. I want to thank you all. Thank you for your time, energy, and effort, dedication, determination, and discipline. I bid you all truth, justice, peace, love, freedom, power, prosperity, protection, and divinely principled purpose. I want to say, let us continue to strategize, organize, mobilize, and activate. And lastly, I want to say, Pamoja Tuta Senda family, which means together we will win.